Well, the Madlanga Commission continues tomorrow with a second witness now expected to take the stand. Amid growing concerns, questions are now being raised about the protection of whistleblowers coming forward with critical information. Let's further explore what safeguards are in place to ensure their safety. And helping us to look into this is social worker as well as whistleblowers advocate, Mr. John Clarke. John, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. So welcome. So the Madlanga Commission at the center where we are expecting whistleblowers to come and testify, as we've seen in the first phase, with, of course, the lead man behind the story there. That is, if we can call him, the chief whistleblower, that is Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who have to come and testify on these serious allegations of misconduct and political interference within our judiciary. Are you at all concerned about their safety at all, in light, of course, of the history in our country and how whistleblowers have been recently treated?
Yeah, well, thank you, Alicia. It's interesting. I got into this work 10 years ago after Bazooka Radebe was shot and killed. It occurred to me that it's going to be in the next 6 months, the 10th anniversary of his murder. We still have not had a prosecution or any arrest. And that was really what got me into this enforced career change as a social worker, and found myself now in the last 10 years really seeking to support people who are there to speak truth to power, to ensure that their truth gets through and that the power is held accountable. And I think that this next 6 months is the critical point, because we don't need to wait for the report to make progress in ensuring that whistleblowers are protected. There are people in the criminal justice system who can now see where the writing is on the wall, that they can start making changes now. I would just love to see the murderers of Bazooka Radebe get arrested. There's nothing they don't have to wait for the commission. I'd love to see Charles Kinnear's killers brought to book. I'd love to see Babita Deokaran's killers brought to book. We don't need the commission's report for them. And I would want to hope that that those who are sort of sitting there, on the fence, would take as their example people like Bazooka Radebe, Babita Deokaran, Charles Kinnear, and there's so many others, and say, well, let's be inspired by them, because what these folk have done, I like to use the term, instead of a whistleblower, a witness bearer. And then I discovered recently that the real root word of the word witness is martyr. We have now got several martyrs who have given their lives, and I know a lot more who are prepared to give their lives to ensure that what South Africa strove for, and trying to overcome apartheid, that we would not now slide back into this mafioso state where there is this wholesale corruption and abuse of our abuse of authority in so many terrible ways. So that's what I wanted to put that message out there, and just encourage anybody that feels that they've got information that they need to share. Now's the time to bring it to the fore, even if it has consequences, because my hope is the very fact that people have been killed, people are still coming forward.
Absolutely, John. You know, I was actually looking at the plight of South African whistleblowers searching for ineffective protection by Karen Khalitz there, that report. And of course, it talks to various issues there. I mean, the various efforts there by Transparency International, Corruption Watch, specifically in the country, where we've seen, John, various efforts to try and ensure the protection of whistleblowers through various means. But we know the reality is that those who dare speak out are automatic targets, often leading to non-disclosure of corruption. So what effective means and current strides then are needed or also are afoot to also address this brazen practice of simply silencing whistleblowers, who bears also the full responsibility in ensuring their safety? I'm sure you saw the package preceding us there. It costs about 34 million rand per year, John, to protect investigators, prosecutors, and those whistleblowers.
But the most and this is well established from international best practice, Alicia, that the most cost-effective way of dealing with systemic corruption is to ensure that there's proper statutory protection of whistleblowers. It's the cheapest and most effective way, rather than having to deploy more and more police and prosecutors and all that. Just make sure that if a person comes forward with information, that they are protected, supported, and incentivized. And that would mean that the Protected Disclosures Act should be completely overhauled. Now, we've been saying we've been talking about that for over 5 years, since the Zondo Commission. And we still haven't seen it happen, which, of course, for me, has been deliberately retarded by the criminal syndicates that have actually got their levers close to people of power who are actually working the system to delay it, because they know it's going to be bad for business if whistleblowers are protected. Civil society can only do so much. It requires the authority of the state to actually work in an effective way to make sure that people are not put at risk. But notwithstanding that, even if they don't, what really encouraged me is that, I was inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, he was my role model as a young activist in my teens, where he said, a person dies if they refuse to stand up for what is right and true and just.
Yes.
Even though they may live to be 80 years, they've compromised on the truth and justice. The eventual death is a belated recognition of a foregone conclusion. If we celebrate life, we will cherish life, and we will put our own lives on the line for the sake of life writ large. And that's what I'm thinking we put in our honor there, because so many people did. In striving for South Africa's liberation, they put their lives on the line. We need a similar process of termination from civil society, that even if the state fails to do it, the criminals will know that they're not going to get away with intimidation tactics.
All right, John, I think you've said it all and really, really covered it all, and also just once again raise the call for those witness or bearers or martyrs, as you call them, to be protected. And that includes you, I suppose, in that bracket. John, thank you so much once again for your valuable input. Mr. John Clarke is a social worker as well as a whistleblower advocate, as more witnesses, of course, will be coming forward and testifying at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry as of tomorrow.